Hey traders, this is Christian Fromhertz and welcome to the Thursday option and market recap. I feel like I've been saying the same thing the last couple of days, but geez, what a day. Just unbelievable price action again, and the option activity fast and furious, and it's been like this since the beginning of the year, except for maybe 1 or 2 days where it's been a little bit quiet, but other than that, it's been very consistent in terms of just a rapid fire amount of option activity. And so where are we right now? And I want to talk a little bit about strategy and how option activity has really kind of kept us in the game, kept me in the game, kept a lot of traders in the trading room in the game, and continuing to put on some nice smart positions in this market. So, and really to be able to kind of move from group to group as we're seeing really different areas get bought up very quickly in the market with option activity. Okay, so first of all, I've got the Qs up here. Doesn't really matter where I start, but the Qs right now, we've definitely broken out here. No doubt about it. We're I'm just looking at the RSI right here. We're about a 75 RSI. So, like I said, I think in yesterday's video, we are cooking right now. The market is continuing to rage and get more and more overbought. And if you look at the S&P, you've got the same exact thing going on. Maybe a little bit more stretched. I think the RSI is a 80 or an 81. We'll wait for that to come up. And I talked about this yesterday, and yeah, it's an 81, so super overbought. So what do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. It's the end of the week. We have a 3-day week coming ahead of us, and generally what happens in a 3-day week, maybe there's a little bit of profit taking on some positions that have been up this much, but we'll see what the option activity brings. That's generally what happens, but this has been a very unusual market. So I would not say I'm speaking generally, but I think what we've got going on is not a general market. And I think a lot of people are kind of saying the same thing. I'm hearing that from traders in the room, and also, when I started my career all the way back, showing my age here, but back in 1998, 1997, I was a junior broker at Dean Witter before they merged with Morgan Stanley, and that's really one of the only times where I've seen just the acceleration to the upside. This, I think, is a little bit different. Certainly there's a lot of movers that were happening then, and a lot of names going up, but that was mostly about tech and the internet. This seems to be a little bit different, and I was explaining to this one who I was explaining this to someone earlier who was not a trader, and I was just saying that I've never seen before where 2 or 3 days one group gets hot, the next 2 or 3 days another group gets hot, 2 or 3 days another group gets breaks out. So it's a very unusual market. Enjoy it, and I think I'm up right now. I've never had a start of a year like this before. I think I'm up close to 35% in my option portfolio. In my cash portfolio, which I don't mind showing this, it's all existing positions, that we've, and this is what Tribeca Trade Group members get to see, as well as all of it, obviously the entries and exits. But yeah, I'm outperforming even in the cash portfolio. I'm up 6.7% versus the S&P up 3.5%, and really some nice names in here for solar, which had a huge day today. Even the ETFs, the robotics ETF, which I'm long robo in my IRA, but bots I just put on at the beginning of December, up 9.2% in that one. US Steel, I'm up 40% right now. MRVL, but look at the majority, just some of the ETFs, frontier markets, up, a lot of these are up well over 20%. So really have amassed a really nice portfolio here. So let's kind of dig into today's activity, and let's talk about the best performer. This is the Jets ETF. There is an airline ETF out there, and let me see if I can zoom out. So this has been, had a nice run above the 200-day moving average. a little bit of a retracement, and then bam, through the value area. And a lot of that has been names like UAL that have seen aggressive option activity. A couple traders in the room have been in this one, but this one just been since the beginning of December has gone from 58 to 74. And now we're seeing call buying. Delta really kind of hit the ball out of the park. Clean breakout for Delta today after earnings. Just get the right chart on here. So you could see, if you zoom out, you could see that this is a real nice breakout for Delta. And then if you look across the other names, which we saw a lot of call buying in these names. I'm not going to bring up the exact trades, but Delta American Airlines is through this one. Actually, I will show you just really quickly some of the aggressive trades, but I'm not going to detail them all. But just a lot of call buying in this group, and this happened in the afternoon. They all kind of went, and they all saw 3 or 4 names in the airline space. Saw some really heavy aggressive option activity. Look at this trade for Southwest Airlines. January 2019, 65 calls. Look at the size of this trade. It's a $500,000 trade, only 600 contracts, and then they bought closer to earnings, right after earnings. So it appears that whoever's buying these are probably anticipating more very good results from the airlines, and similar results, I guess, to what we saw for Delta. Speaking of Delta, also saw some calls go up post earnings. This was around 2 o'clock. So June, 62.5 calls, opening trade. Maybe they rolled some, but it didn't match up in terms. It looks like a brand new trade for Delta. So again, just phenomenal when you see every name in a group. Not every name, but a handful of names where they aggressively buy calls in the same group in single names. So that's airlines. Steel names, which we've seen a lot of call buying in this group as well. Look at the move. I mean, that you could pretty much say is pretty standard inverted head and shoulders, it looks like to me. And we're all the way back to where we were back in 2014. Whew. Just a blistering move. And this is another name that I'm long as well. It's just in straight cash. But this is your second best performer today, up 2.9%. Again, just extremely, extremely hot. And then energy names, which, kind of a tricky looking candle here at the end of the day. In case you noticed, if you didn't notice, crude actually gave back all the gains today. Crude was really hot. It's kind of, so I don't want to put like a warning signal or anything like that. I'm just, making observations here. And, so crude broke out today, but that does look like a very toppy looking candle. We went all the way up to almost $65, and that's a shooting star candle. So we'll see if normally what happens if you want to confirm that this might be a reversal coming in oil. Normally you'll see a big red bar that would come inside of here. So watch that. The oil groups did not see that much of a give back in their performance. This is the XOP ETF. Was up at 3.3%, I believe. So still up 2.4%. We did see some put buying come into the end of the day as crude was selling off. We saw a little bit of XLE puts, so kind of a mix of flow. In the morning, it was kind of the same names that we've been seeing, call buying. Exxon, I think Schlumberger also saw some calls. Range Resources, which continues to see calls almost every day. Then a handful of other names, the MLP names, which look very strong right now as well. Big KMI, a lot of contracts, but not a lot of, not a heavy dollar amount. 22,000 of these went up for 11 cents. It is a $240,000 trade for a 11-cent trade. This is one of the MLP names, but you could see the AMLP is now solidly above the 200-day moving average, even when you don't adjust for dividends, which this chart doesn't. But that and the other one that's been a repeater in the space has been ETP. which is now also above the 200-day moving average, and a real nice move up. This one we've been all over. I've talked about the AMLP ETF now several times. I think you can. I think I may have just messed up the chart. Oh, there we go. But yeah, look at the accumulation that's been going on in this ETF since October. Even down here, it looks like it was being accumulated. Again, this is inflows, so money going in. And again, that's real investment. That's a study that you can get from Bloomberg if you know how to set it up correctly, and it shows real-time investment or one-day lag, T+1, going in, and certainly you can see all the buying that's been happening. All right, so that's a couple of the themes that we saw today, and a couple other charts that are really interesting. Again, I'm long for solar and cash, but this looks like it may just. And I did not put this trade on today. It was just one of those things where you can't be in every single trade, but this looks like it wants higher. Look at the fresh MACD crossover. And I'll have to wait till tomorrow to add this. I already have a trade in mind for a run into earnings. And then, besides the airlines, any leisure stocks, Expedia got upgraded this morning. Look at the bar on Trivago today, which saw a nice call buyer, up 13% today in Trivago. Again, counter trend name below the 200-day moving average, but look at that bar. A name to definitely watch for tomorrow for some continuation. Priceline, we added a trade today in Priceline for looking for a run into earnings. They typically have done that a few times where Priceline runs into earnings, then on the earnings call, they the CEO or whoever speaks on the conference call brings down the expectations and the stock sells off. But I'm looking for a move like this into earnings. Just got back above the 200-day moving average a couple days ago. Another group that we saw a lot of call buying in is the casino names. And again, names that are not really that overbought. So I think a nice group to kind of get involved in. I put on a trade today in MGM because this MGM has been going sideways now since October. No, it's going sideways since June. You finally have a move outside of here. How exciting is this? To me, I've tried this trade once before. I tried it here for a breakout, put on a small trade, and it expired. I think it was my only trade that expired worthless in December, and as it faded here. But this looks like it has a little bit more momentum to it. We'll see if we get that follow through tomorrow in MGM. But again, if you zoom out, looks pretty decent, giving this a shot. So I think that was one of the trades that I added. Definitely a trade that I added today. I'm just trying to think. I did Priceline as well, and I did one other small trade. But again, a lot of profit taking. I took off a huge winner in Nvidia today. Huge winner. Got into a call spread, I think, for around $2.20. Took it off for almost $8 today. And so on and so forth. We just had a number of trades that are really working. Healthcare, new 52-week high. That's the XLV ETF. A lot of names in the healthcare group also extended some gains today. Gilead was a nice performer. More call buying in that one today. A couple names that we talked about yesterday. AGIO, continuation to the upside. I think they have their meeting tomorrow at the JP Morgan conference, if I'm not mistaken. But so I could go on for probably another half hour about all the earnings activity. Excuse me, not earnings activity, all the option activity today. You could see it kind of spilled over past one page. Some really great trades. And as I mentioned, I've mentioned this a couple times now. If you're a little bit uneasy about getting into new trades right now, because again, there's a lot of really interesting trades going up on the tape. Just write them down. Write down the prices. I gave an example earlier in the week about how we took CCL, not at the time of the trade that went up, but a couple days later, and got in for about 30% cheaper than what the institution paid. So if you're patient and you kind of at this point are waiting for a little bit of a pullback, just keep a good notebook and with purchase prices so that you could possibly get into some of these trades cheaper. All right, guys, awesome day, awesome week, and have a great night. Check us out at tribecatradegroup.com. If you're looking to try us if you want to see what we're all about, the strategy that we entail every day, as well as making sure that we're catching all the big movers, such as the airlines, the energy names, the steel names, the gamers. We're catching all these moves and we're putting on trades and we're capitalizing on them. You can send an email to info@tribecatradegroup.com, request a few day trial, and we're happy to do that for you. Thanks very much. Have a great night.